everyone, it's Colin from GIY Guy. Thanks for checking out today's video. So if you enjoy the content, hit that like and subscribe button. But today's video is a follow-up to the worm bin video I made about 1.5 years ago, I think was when I first started this thing. So you can check out the link above if you haven't seen that yet. Now Michaela and I have been talking a while now about moving to Nashville, and just this past Friday she got a job offer down there, and so we're super excited to say that we're planning to move down there this fall. But one thing that's not coming with us is our family of worms. It's been in our family now for about 1.5 years. And unfortunately, the 50 or 60 pounds is just not worth lugging around because worms are pretty cheap. But one thing that I wanted to do, instead of just dumping the whole thing in the garden and calling it a day, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to, make a video about it real quick and just show you the contents of a worm bin. I haven't done anything with this for the last 1.5 years. All I've been doing is throwing scraps in there, throwing cardboard in there, and just letting them do their thing. So this is an untouched worm bin practically, and so we're going to be able to see how the dirt changed, what the castings look like, and the best part is we don't have to sift through all the worms to sort our castings out. We're just going to dump the whole thing in the garden, take a look, and that'll be the end of the video. So it's pretty short and sweet. I'll let you check out the video if you want to. I won't go into the details of building the worm box. One thing I want to mention though is I did put like a spigot head and a hole at the bottom of the worm bin, and over 1.5 years I had, maybe 1 cup of water come out of the whole thing. And so your worm bin should not be wet at all. You should have plenty of cardboard, dry materials in there to soak it up. I didn't have to add water once the entire time I've had this bin. And so just throwing your fruits and veggie scraps and all that, that's gonna keep it wet enough. Also, I had it in my crawl space, which was, definitely cool. So if you have it outside, that might be different. You might have to water it once in a while, and make sure you're keeping it in the shade so your worms don't get toasted. Well, let's crack this thing open. So I've taken out all the extra cardboard that I had in there. I left this one piece just to kind of show you the layering of it. So just looking at the inside of this bin at first glance, it's like the best dirt I've ever seen in my life. It just looks like, it looks like brownie mix. That's how dark and brown it is. So plants and garden is gonna love this. I'm just gonna start pulling some of this cardboard back, and hopefully you'll be able to see some of the worms. This cardboard's great. I just layer it about every 3 weeks. I go down and throw a couple layers on, but the worms are just chilling under there. We're gonna go ahead and pull this back, and this is my favorite part, being able to see all the worms just going crazy. They were chewing on a banana peel, and so they are loving life in there for sure. I'm not gonna lie, my garden is getting pretty full at this point, and so what I'm gonna try to do is take this whole bin and just flip it upside down in this empty spot. It's also really heavy. Try to give you guys a good view. Wow. Most of the original dirt that I put in there is now like dark brown. And it was like clay when I put it in there before. All right, that's pretty good. Go ahead and show you a close-up here. I don't really know what worm eggs look like, but just to give you an idea of the reproduction, at least they are reproducing, because there's definitely some baby worms in there. So when I started this worm bin, I basically layered it like leaves, junk clay dirt, topsoil dirt, some perlite, and then kind of just alternated again through that. So basically 30% of this bin was just trash dirt, and now you look at it and it's like 95% good topsoil for a garden. So that's pretty impressive that all that was done just from worms. I didn't add anything except food scraps to the bin, food scraps and cardboard. Just to give you an idea of how much it improved, this is the dirt that I put in there before. So just look at the difference in color of that. This is just like, clay, sandy junk, and then you've got beautiful topsoil fertilizer there. And one question you probably have is, would I do this again? And the answer is probably no, and here's why. Because this was such a small scale bin that it was just not worth it. $30 worth of worms got me maybe 5 gallons worth of good dirt over 1.5 years. Now granted, I didn't, do a lot of turnover. I didn't keep the worms going. I didn't let them expand. One thing you're supposed to do is like, every 6 months you take out half the worms and start a new bin or start a new pile. or throw them in your garden just to give them room to reproduce. And I didn't do any of that, mostly because this is just an experiment. I wanted to see actually how well worms could transform junk dirt into good dirt. And as far as that experiment goes, they did a great job. And the only way I would actually do this again was if I was doing it at scale. So by scale, I mean, have at least 5 of these bins going, because then I can, move worms around and keep growing my worm population. But just having 1 bin was definitely not worth it. Cool experiment, but you can see this will only do a small percentage of my garden as far as fertilizing. Now, as far as measuring the nutrient content, I can't really do that, but I'm gonna let the color speak for itself. I'm 100% positive that this dirt is gonna grow vegetables a lot better than this junk dirt over here. So one trick I actually saw on another video was when you go to harvest your worm bin, I mean, obviously if you're not doing it like me and just dumping it all into your garden, which I don't recommend if you want to keep your worm bin going, but just feed one side of your bin, because then all the worms are going to kind of migrate over to that section. It's really best if you can get all your worms, most of your worms, to one side, and then just take the other half of the dirt, throw it in your garden, and fill with more fill dirt in your box. Then you can, switch to adding veggies and scraps to the junk dirt side, and then all the worms will hopefully migrate over there, and you can just keep cycling that back and forth. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish putting this around some of my tomato plants, and then that's gonna be the end of it. So that's all I've got for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was a simple one, but keep growing it yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.